GM everybody, I'm here with Johnny Betancourt today. I am Jonathan Little, and today we are going to talk about NFTs. I'm currently upstate New York on a vacation, having a upstate New York beer. What are you up to, Johnny?
What's up, everyone? Hey, Jonathan, good to see you. I am GM wherever you are in the world. It's always GM somewhere. I'm drinking a Oza classic mimosa in a can, which actually these are surprisingly good. I got these on sale for like 12 of them for $20, and it's not bad at all. I'm here wearing my, what was that?
You blew through them all in one day?
Yeah, we're working on the end of the supply right now. But they've been fun. And then I'm wearing my JPEG Morgan t-shirt. JPEG Morgan is a Miami-based NFT trading club. It's like a pun, right? It's like a play on JP Morgan, but then there's an Ethereum sign. So just hanging out in Miami at my apartment, and happy to be with everyone today.
How cute they use the Ethereum symbol. Let's talk about some hot takes in NFTs. So, first thing right off the bat, are NFTs shitcoins with pictures?
Let me introduce this for the audience, because maybe you've been off of Twitter for a few days. You don't know what this is about. So basically in this section, we're breaking down some of the controversial takes on Twitter and just adding kind of like our take to it. So Cobie had this post the other day. If you don't follow Cobie, you should. He's an OG Bitcoiner that hosts a podcast called Up Only, and he wrote this tweet that shouldn't have been controversial a few days ago, talking about, tagging some of the OG NFT owners like Punk6529, and he basically said that altcoins are just NFTs are just altcoins with pictures on them. And so that shouldn't have been super controversial. But then it started this whole debate on Twitter because people from certain NFT communities took offense to this. And they were talking about like, wait, it's not an altcoin. NFTs are not shitcoins. You can build communities around them. People are really proud about the NFTs they own, and no one's proud about their Dogecoin, etc. So it, stirred up this whole debate. Punk6529 immediately responds saying, NFTs are definitely altcoins with pictures, and it's a feature, not a bug. And Jonathan, what are your thoughts about this debate? Should this even be a debate? What are your thoughts?
First things first, I don't get involved with the Twitter drama. I just try to do good work. But if we're going to discuss the Twitter drama, what are NFTs? Well, they are tokens on the various blockchains, right? And I don't know if that necessarily makes them very clearly an altcoin like, any other altcoin. But, it makes them essentially a token on a main chain, right? And that's a good thing. That's what we're trying to accomplish with NFTs, because that makes sure we know who owns them, and it gives them provenance. And it lets you easily, like with Deck of Degeneracy, for example, with those cards, I know who owns each card. I can easily give stuff to those owners. The other day we had a free roll poker tournament where it was a 1 Ethereum prize pool, and to play you had to be a Deck of Degeneracy holder. I can easily check that. If you have a card, you get in. If you don't, you don't. And I think that's quite valuable. That definitely sounds like a feature to me, compared to if I just mailed out a bunch of, let's say, membership cards. I don't know who has a membership card. You gotta, you take a picture of it with next to your face and send me that, and I have to verify everybody the morning of, and they could easily fake that. That's absurd. But no, I think that in terms of, are NFTs essentially altcoins? Yeah, I guess they are, right? And that sounds like a good thing to me. Now, of course, if, let's say, Ethereum just goes way into the dumpster, that's obviously not going to be good if the price of our altcoins do not go up substantially. But to be fair, if the price of Ethereum goes up a ton and the price of the altcoins, the NFTs, stays stable or even goes up, or even goes down a little, it's okay. So, yeah, I don't know what else they could possibly be besides an altcoin. Now, the idea of, can you make a community around an altcoin? Of course you can. You see the Dogecoin people, they're nuts. There are whole countries that run on altcoins to some extent at this point. And I don't really understand the idea if you can't create a community around an altcoin. I get the idea that artists want their art to be special art, fancy art, like whatever they want it to be. And maybe I'm using the wrong words here. But at the end of the day, it's a token. And I don't know the difference between a token and an altcoin, but They kind of work the same in
thing.
my brain.
Yeah. So and Jonathan, I think that you put that really well in terms of the utility argument. Definitely, from a utility standpoint, you need that that provenance to be able to give out that utility and share, whatever you're trying to add to that project. You need to be able to track the wallets and all that kind of thing. I think that maybe the debate came in more on the art side, where people that are really into NFTs for the art, they're thinking about it as, like the Mona Lisa, or they're thinking about it as this, this profile picture project that has a really big community around it. And shitcoins have this reputation for being pump and dumps, right? Or rug pulls. So when people, I think that some people just maybe freak out when they hear the comparison of NFT projects that they really spend a lot of time on. They really give a lot of their energy towards these projects. And then you're associating it with an altcoin, which, a lot of altcoins, to be honest, from 2017, 2018, they were straight up rug pulls and pump and dumps. But then to be fair, a lot of NFT projects have been the same way too. Like basically most of the PFP projects that have come out over the last 6 to 12 months, a lot of them were kind of, not necessarily created with the best intention. So anyway, I don't think there's that much to talk about here. I don't think it should be a controversial statement, but I thought it was fun to kind of get Jonathan's take on that.
I mean, I will generally say that a lot of the time when someone says something, a lot of people either have very different perceptions of the words that are being used than the person who is saying it has, or people are just taking words out of context, or they are trying to stir up drama. Almost
or they're
always.
Just spending too much time on Twitter.
I mean, a lot of the time in the poker space, people will take a piece of my book text out of context and then say that I said this thing that I did not say. Unclick on your computer. And it's just not accurate, right? I mean, or maybe I will use a word that has different meaning to some people than it does for me. And that some things trigger people, even when you're not necessarily trying to trigger people. And apparently altcoin or shitcoin triggers some people very hard because they probably lost a lot of money on it. And they don't like the idea that the thing that they're now spending a lot of time on may actually be that in a different wrapper.
It could be. All right, let's move on. Royalties. So are creator royalties a good thing? So a few days ago, again, in the Twitter sphere of NFTs, there was this whole debate about 0% royalties and should projects have 0% royalties? A lot of people saying either they should or we should build exchanges so that you don't need to give royalties to the creators. Because the truth of the matter is creator royalties are actually unenforceable on the blockchain. You could actually someone could create an NFT marketplace where there are no royalties, or you could just peer-to-peer swap and then there'd be no creator royalties. So Beeple had this interesting tweet about that he thinks that the creator royalty argument is actually a lot simpler than people make it out to be. There's zero way to force royalties. So creators will have to build a collector base that want to honor those royalties. And it's really that simple. And part of the argument is that, for the pro side of the royalties is that it's actually like a good thing that the creators are being rewarded over time. So Jonathan, what are your takes on this, especially having created 2 different NFT projects? What's your take on creator royalties?
I mean, this is a big topic, but I think Beeple hit it spot on that if you make a collector base that wants to pay the royalties, then that's the dream world. And with Deck of Degeneracy, for example, it's my NFT project, we are giving back, so we take 10% royalties, but we're giving back about 80% of those royalties to holders to further fund the project. We make that crystal clear. We're very transparent with it. I have a spreadsheet listing all of the money we've given back so far. We've drastically over-delivered. And that's because people happily pay their royalties. We have a trading channel or buying, selling channel on our Discord, and almost no one tries to get around the royalties, which is nice because they realize that if they do try to get around the royalties, the project will not sustain long term. And a lot of them want the project to sustain long term. Some people who do trade over the counter to avoid the exchange fees, they'll often just send Deck of Degeneracy funds, which is great. I looked the other day, we had 1.9 ETH in WETH, wrapped ETH, that I definitely have not gotten from buying or selling or trading anything. I just got it from people donating it because they traded over the counter, peer to peer, and they gave funds back to the project because that would have been its fair share, right? But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, royalties are definitely unenforceable, and if you do not want to pay the content creators, then don't, right? The nice thing about royalties from the artist's point of view is that they don't have to make a ton of art, which allows them to make their art a little bit more scarce, which is quite valuable, because if they have to crank out another piece of art to pay their bills, well, that's going to devalue, in theory, maybe not, but it's probably going to devalue all the other art that they have created in the past. Because at the end of the day, if an artist makes 100,000 pieces, that each piece is going to be worth less than if an artist makes 500 pieces, probably, assuming it's equally good quality art.
And
that's relevant.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was exactly VonMises had a really good post about this a few days ago, where he says, in the absence of royalties, artists are forced to crank out much more work, and in the absence of royalties, that just means that your art is going to appreciate less. So if you, and obviously, like, we care about, we want to support these creators that are making art, but we also don't want them to dilute their collections to such an extent that everyone can have one of them, right? What makes it special is that it's scarce to some degree. If every artist made this beautiful art and then made it an open edition where there's 100,000 of them, it would devalue the project to some extent. So I really liked where Vaughn was coming from. And JL, it sounds like you agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to figure out how to make the ecosystem work. I mean, essentially, I think flippers do not want royalties, and long-term holders don't mind the royalties because they're not going to be paying them over and over and over again. So the reason this whole thing came out is because there was a project called Aliens that came out recently, and they did what CryptoPunks did. They have 0% royalties, but the creators of the project kept a lot of the supply. I don't know the exact number. CryptoPunks creators kept 1/10 of the supply. So if the project did well, they'd own 1/10 of the supply, which ended up being a whole lot when you're talking about CryptoPunks. If it failed, then they'd end up with nothing, right? And I actually don't mind that method. I think the method's quite nice because instead of taking 10% of each sale, they just take 10% of the whole project. And I think that's perfectly reasonable and perfectly viable. I think it's a good way of paying yourself because if you succeed, you get paid, and if it doesn't succeed, you don't get paid.
It's a different way. The only thing it does is create a vulnerability where you have maybe like misaligned incentives where the creator that is trying to increase the project value and clearly wants the holders of their project to do well, but also has an incentive to sell the top. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit tricky, right?
Yeah, you see them start dumping. You got to be a little bit careful.
Right, exactly.
That is interesting. I didn't even consider that, but that's definitely true.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would personally take the royalties over the other model just because I know that they're going to be making, be able to sustain themselves and without necessarily putting out more work. And there isn't as much of a vulnerability of one big holder having 1/10 of the supply. But, there's different ways to slice it. Now, one last thing, Jonathan. When do you know that a royalty is, like, actually a bad thing? Like, when would your opinion flip and you would say, actually, this royalty is like too high, it's abusive, whatever, it's predatory? What are the alarm bells that go off in your head?
It depends on what the royalties are being used for. I like transparency a lot, which is why with Degeneracy, I made it crystal clear. We are going to take 10% and we're going to give back about 80% of it. When I say about, maybe it'll be 73%, maybe it'll be 95%. It looks like it's going to be more like 130% because I'm crazy. But I like the idea that people know these fees are going to go to fund the project. A lot of people, or a lot of projects, are using those fees to line their pocketbook. And that's not really what you want to have happening, I don't think. But at the same time, so like the royalties are different when you talk about royalties for a project versus royalties for an artist. Because in my mind, I mean, I don't know, maybe because I'm a project creator, I don't think I'm owed all that much money personally. I'm not doing a whole lot. I mean, I'm having fun here. I realize artists are usually like solo people or a small group of people, and they need to get paid, right? Like as a Johnny, you clicked the slide again. As a content, as someone in my shoes doesn't really care about getting paid so much. They care about making a sweet project. Whereas I get the idea that artists need to make money, and if they have some gigantic sales down the road, even if their initial items did not cost a whole lot of money, I think they should be paid for that. And I think they should be allowed to spend their money on whatever they want to. Whereas I do think projects are a little bit more obligated to spend their funds to further sustain the project. Because if you make a project and they just do nothing, it's probably just going to die. Not always, but probably. And that's bad for everybody.
I will just say this is a personal opinion, and there's different ways to look at this. I have a much easier time paying high royalties for like one art, for artists that are creating, that are spending a lot of time creating. They don't have probably as much time to market themselves, and that's going to be like a helpful residual for them. Whereas like a 10K PFP project, that's like the next animal that came out, they're charging a 10% royalty, and you have no idea who the creators are, what they're doing with the money. That's more suspicious to me, right? Because now, like that literally could just be like a soft rug. You don't really know. So anyway, I'll just say there's a lot of ways to think about this, but in general, I think, it sounds like we're both supportive of creator royalties, especially when there's transparency. So Jonathan, does one dick really equal one butt?
Yeah, I guess so. What else could it equal?
Yeah, so the project of the week that we're highlighting is CryptoDickButts, and that's just because they've been pumping lately. And this is not, I just want to say this is not financial advice, and this is not us advocating for you to buy them, but we just thought it would be interesting to discuss, like, why do we think these are pumping, and what's your opinions on them? So Jonathan, what do you think is so special about the Dickbutts that it's got everyone's attention right now?
So every week it seems like there's some project that is mooning for either some reason or no reason, and the CryptoDickButts are ridiculous. And I think they are probably, very clearly, the most ridiculous project. And to be fair, if you own anything, you want it to be the most something. You don't want it to be bland, you don't want it to be boring, you don't want it to be irrelevant. And CryptoDickButts are about the most ridiculous project that... It's the most ridiculous thing you could possibly imagine. I only have one. I wish I had more. I was actually looking at buying them a while back, but I was short on ETH. I was busy buying one of one art. And they had pumped from like, I don't know, maybe it was like 1 ETH, like 1.5 ETH. I'm like, oh, maybe I should be getting in. Looks like they're heating up. But I only have one. You have 100?
Yeah. No, I actually only have one as well. I was at the beach one day down here in sunny South Florida, and I was supposed to be just having a good time on the beach. And then for some reason, I just thought, Dickbutts. And I'm serious. Like, I'm not even making this up. I opened up my OpenSea, my MetaMask on my phone, and I bought a CryptoDickButt for 0.69 ETH like 6 months ago. And then it just sat there at like 0.7 ETH for like 6 months. And I don't know why. I just had this aha moment, this revelation that Dickbutts, like, these could be this could be the culture that like signifies this entire era of NFTs and like crypto trading. This is like 6 months, and then I just forgot about it, and I still have it. So I'm holding on to my one Dickbutt. But so far, that beach trip has paid off.
I will say, whenever anything is getting a lot of hype, it might be time to dump it. Honestly, yeah. I mean, so like again, not financial advice, but when everyone is trying to buy this thing, wait for it to kind of hit a bit of a peak at the top, and it's probably time to let it go. Now, sometimes it hits a peak at the top and then stays at the top and then goes even higher. I cannot conceive these things getting to 50 ETH. I think that'd be absurd. But at the same time, I've seen plenty of shocking things in the NFT space over the last year and a half. So, I don't know. I might sell mine as soon as we're done with the show. All right.
I think I'm going to hold on to mine. But yeah, let's move on to the next topic.
So, what made us talk today about best security practices? Read this tweet for us.
Yeah. So our friend Bharat Crimo, by the way, I haven't met Bharat yet. I would love to one day. He's like an OG punk owner, and I'm trying to meet all these people eventually. So hopefully, Bharat, if you are watching this, I hope to grab a beer with you sometime, or one of these classic mimosas, or whatever sparkling Cabernet Jonathan's drinking. But he said, pride cometh before the fall. When you preach not to click links, to always double check stuff, and you do the opposite, well, there is hell to pay. So apparently, Bharat, who's like super sharp, like has been in all of these projects, understands the space super well, advocates for, responsible minting and all this kind of thing. he clicked on a malicious link at some point, and one of his wallets got drained. It wasn't his main wallet, but one of his wallets with like a bunch of valuable NFTs got drained. And I personally have had a ledger for over a year now, but I was being super, super lazy about using it because it is a little inconvenient. Like with the ledger, you have to like put in the PIN, and every transaction takes a long time. Gas was super expensive to transfer. So I was using my hot wallet, not for like my best NFTs, obviously, but like for NFTs that were worth 1-2 ETH, I had them in my hot wallet, and I was being lazy about it. And I was like, well, I'll transfer them later. Oh man, I saw this, and I just stayed at like 5 a.m. just transferring everything into my ledger, because I was like, this can happen to anyone, and it would be devastating if I lost. I had like 500 NFTs in my hot wallet. Not all of them were valuable, but if I lost all that, that would be a huge blow. So anyway, I thought that it would be a good opportunity to talk about security. And like, this is something that everyone can relate to. If you're in this space, you need to be thinking about security. You need to be vigilant, because there are scammers all over the world trying to get your NFTs. So Jonathan, what do you think about this? What should people do?
All right, I think security is important. I had multiple CryptoPunks, multiple Bored Apes on my computer, and my computer's MetaMask. I hot wallet. A hot wallet is a wallet on your computer's browser. Maybe it's some other thing, I don't know. But that's essentially it. If you have MetaMask in your browser and that's it, no ledger or anything, you have a hot wallet. Now, I am always hyper paranoid about not letting anybody get a hold of my physical computer because of poker. Because with online poker, people can install stuff on your computer if you leave it open in your hotel room or in your hotel room at all. And that can be very, very detrimental. So I'm very, very vigilant about not letting people get my computer. But, people can get in your computer in various other ways, not just physically. So I was talking to VonMises, shout out to him again. He's my NFT mentor. And he was like, wait, what? All of your stuff is just on a hot wallet? I'm like, yeah, I'm very vigilant with my computer. He said, that's preposterous. You need to get a ledger immediately. This was a year ago or so. So I got a ledger. I transferred anything worth more than like 0.05 ETH to it. And back then, it cost about $40 US to transfer one item. Out the door, it cost me about 4 Ethereum to transfer all of my stuff. And this was like a $4,000 Ethereum or $3,000 Ethereum. It was a hefty Ethereum. And, after I did that, I slept a whole lot better. Now, to be fair, it is a bit of a pain to click through the ledger every time you want to make a transaction. For all of you Deck of Degeneracy holders, every time I send a Deck of Degeneracy art collection piece, there are 51 copies of each of those, that's 51 clicks I have to make through the ledger. Actually, 51 times about 5 clicks a piece. It's a while. It's a pain, but probably not going to get hacked. I mean, you can still get hacked if you do some things we're about to talk about in the future, or in the next few slides. But get a hardware wallet. That will go a long way to ensuring that nobody can take your stuff when you're just like not at the computer or whatnot. So that is very important. Next, after you get the hardware wallet, you actually buy it. By the way, if you buy it, only buy it from Ledger, whatever their site is. I don't know the site. Or Trezor or whatever you use. I have a Ledger Nano S. It's the thing you're looking at right here on the screen if you're watching this. You can then create a MetaMask wallet in it. In MetaMask, you go to create a new account. I don't know exactly how to do this. I'm sure you can search it on YouTube. But it will say, do you want to set it up with a hard wallet? A hard wallet. You say yes. And then it'll tell you to connect the hard wallet. You'll do all that. You'll go through, and then you'll have this MetaMask wallet still in your browser that has to go through the Ledger program every single time you want to make any sort of transaction. You may have to change some settings on your Ledger. It may be a bit of a pain. There will be some learning curve.
It's a pain.
I'm not a tech pro. I can't help you. Don't post on Twitter, I need help with my Ledger, who can help me, because you're going to get a million scammers. Don't ever type the word Ledger or MetaMask into Twitter, because you will get a bunch of scammers. Whenever I first made Deck of Degeneracy, someone was having a problem with their Ledger. They posted on Twitter, hey, can somebody help me with my Ledger? They got 1,000 people saying, yeah, sure, I'll help you. So he got some help from one of them. They took the 0.25 ETH he had in his account away.
Oh, no.
0.25 ETH, gone, which is a lot of money for him. And that sucks, right? And it's a mess. So you are going to have to get help from people who are somewhat trusted. If you're a Deck of Degeneracy holder, get in our Discord. I can actually find you sharp people who will know how to help you. But yeah, you have to be really, really protective of this type of
There's
thing.
enough information on YouTube to get everything done. It's just, it takes like schedule 2 or 3 hours, just sit in front of your computer, be patient with it, and get it set up.
Funny enough, I was actually in the same upstate Airbnb when I was doing a lot of these transfers last year, and I was trying to figure out how to get the ledger to work properly. I was having a big pain because it was not working right. I had to change. There's like 8 settings in the ledger for the Ethereum wallet, and they have to all be set up properly. They're all like yes or no things, and I think one of them is not default set correctly. There's the tip of the day, and so I had to change that one. So fine. Once you have that wallet set up, transfer all of your valuable NFTs to it. I did this just using OpenSea. With OpenSea, you can transfer 20 items at a time. What did you do, Johnny?
Same, actually. I forgot that OpenSea had the mass transfer, so I was doing them one at a time. And then I was like, this is taking way too long. I had 500 NFTs. So I started doing 20 at a time, and it was way, way better.
Yeah, so you can do 20 at a time.
The thing is that I got lucky because I did this like last month, and gas was like $4 instead of 40. So I did this for way, way cheaper than Jonathan. No matter what, it's worth it. But it's even more so now. Like, you literally have no excuse. Gas is so cheap right now. You should not have valuable NFTs in a hot wallet.
So it is worth noting, you should still have a hot wallet, though, or at least additional ledger wallets. And the reason for this is that whenever you go to actually mint an item from any site you do not like fully trust, and you're not going to trust any site that is minting an NFT because you don't know who these people are. Or maybe you typed in the wrong URL or something. You went to .com instead of .io or .xyz or whatever. Only mint stuff, NFTs, from a wallet that has no valuable NFTs in it. Now, especially when transferring is cheap, this is going to be amazing. This was a bit of a pain back in the day because you end up paying double gas. And back then, gas was $40 an item. And if you're buying a $200 item, paying $40 once and $40 twice doesn't really work. But now it's like $4 on your $200 item. So it's negligible. And that is very, very good. So I have a hot wallet in my browser that I use to mint sometimes on things that I need to mint really quickly, because sometimes time is of the essence with like various Dutch auction type drops or whatnot, because you can't go through clicking through your ledger 6 or 8 times perfectly timed whenever you have to mint something in an exact second. And then I also have a ledger account that I use to mint stuff as well. And then I transfer anything that is valuable at all to my main wallet. And I think that's what I would just say.
I would just say whatever, you are going to need to keep some ETH in a hot wallet at some point to mint things, but just keep what you can afford to lose, right? Like if you're like, hey, you have 1 ETH there, if you happen to lose it, it's not devastating. Great. Like that's your own risk that you're taking, but you shouldn't be lazy like I was and just keep NFTs in your hot wallet for a long time.
I'll also say you don't even necessarily need to keep any ETH in your hot wallet if you know ahead of time you're going to use the hot wallet.
Right.
So I have like no ETH in my hot wallet, but I can easily send ETH to it from my main wallet because there's no risk of getting hacked.
That's even smarter.
Yeah, I'm sending from my Ledger wallet to my hot wallet, and then I'll just send that there or roughly what I'm going to use to buy, and then worst case I'm left with like 0.02 ETH or something in it, so it doesn't matter. So that's what I do. I keep all my ETH in my Ledger. I keep most of my ETH in my Ledger that's not even in my NFT account. So I have like just a straight ETH wallet as well.
What are some other tips, Jonathan? I know you got some other slides on this.
Fine, let's move on. Only mint items for a wallet with no value. Okay, we just talked about that. Only mint from trusted sites to the best of your ability. You're not always going to know. Ideally, so look, I would say to like go to the site's Discord and click on the trusted link, but people have hacked those. I would say to only mint from the person's Twitter profile.
I like to mint from the Twitter. Yeah.
Well, the other day, DK got hacked, a well-known artist. I love his stuff. He posted, hey, I'm dropping these things. And I actually went and I clicked on the link. Talk about like a close call, because I would have fired off minting that thing, because he's never had a problem. Sometimes he drops stuff, not necessarily last minute, but like I don't follow every single thing everyone posts. I just presumed I missed the lead-up promo tweets. It was the same, the scammer used the same like items he had been promoting.
Wow. So
like they did a good job of making a scam site. I presume it went to whatever, dk.com or something instead of dk. Whatever. And I'm sure they got some people. They almost got me, but then I was thinking like, I don't know, something just didn't feel right. Quite often, if you can read English very well, a lot of these sites just have something a little bit off in them. And if you see anything that looks a little bit off by someone who you think is a legitimate professional, that right there should be a giant warning sign. If you ever see like any sort of obvious typo, obvious misspelling, anything obviously wrong, That should send off warning bells, right? And I think there was actually something obviously wrong on the page. And I'm like, that's not right. And then next thing you know, we see on his Discord or whatever, do not mint, do not mint, do not mint, right?
But I will say that no matter what, like these scam projects, they appeal to your FOMO.
They do.
Like they appeal to human psychology, where you think that it's scarce, you think that you know it's like last minute sales tactics, and there's a lot of pressure. So at some point, if you're in the NFT space long enough, you're probably going to end up making a mistake and like jumping on a website that is the wrong website, or maybe not proofreading or whatever. So you want to be vigilant, but that's why you have this backup of like basically a disposable wallet. In case you do make that mistake, you're not losing.
Right. Worst case, I lose the 1 ETH or whatever I just sent to that account, and it sucks, but it's not the end of the day. Right?
Yeah.
Also realize almost no legit project releases a surprise drop out of the blue, especially from a slightly unknown site or a different website than their normal website. Nobody does that. Some people do have FOMO-y type drops, but usually they announce those FOMO-y type drops ahead of time, to the point that like a week in advance, I'm going to do this FOMO type drop in a week. And then you're prepared, right? But they're usually not going to do it out of the blue. I don't think I mentioned it here, but in Discord, if you're on Discord, you're going to get a bunch of DMs from scam bots. They've impersonated Deck of Degeneracy. They've been impersonating AlphaCentauriKid recently, a ton. And we're going to be talking about him in just a second. And you have to choose if you even want to have DMs on in Discord. A lot of people just don't even have Discord DMs on. I talked to a few people through Discord, and I try to talk to anybody from Deck of Degeneracy who needs input. Sometimes I need to get someone's like physical mailing address. We're mailing out uncut sheets of cards. You know what an uncut sheet of cards is, Johnny?
Yeah, I want one of those. I haven't seen one.
Oh, well, you better get a 5 of diamonds then. If you have a 5 of diamonds, you are going to be mailed.
I have one.
Oh, well, there you go. You need to get me your address then. You're going to be mailed an uncut sheet of Deck of Degeneracy cards, and I have to get a hold of people to get their addresses sometimes. Or somebody wins a poker tournament, one of our poker tournaments, and forgets to type their Ethereum address into the Discord. I have to go follow up and get their address, whatever. So that's the reason I have my DMs turned on, but I think most people probably don't even need to have DMs turned on Discord. If anybody messages you on Twitter, it's a scam. I don't know, like, just presume if somebody reaches out to you, it may be a scam, right? Just presume that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even more so if you are not someone kind of... Like, why are they reaching out to you, right? If you're, like, a famous artist, people may reach out to you to collaborate or something, and that could be legit. Like, I've reached out to plenty of well-known artists cold, like, not even knowing them, because I would like them to work with Deck of Degeneracy to make an art collection piece. And I'm sure, for a lot of them, those DMs go right to their spam and they never see it. Or they just presume it's a scam, as they probably should, even though it's not. But no one's going to be sending you a DM about how to get a free $10,000 or something like this. It just doesn't exist. Okay?
Yeah.
Next, you should very much consider getting a cold wallet that is difficult to access for NFTs you do not plan to sell. A lot of like OG punk owners or people with tons of high-value NFTs that they know they're not selling for a long time, they have a wallet that is not on the internet at all. They can't even access it if they want to. It's usually in a lockbox somewhere or something like that. In a bank, or it's
in a safe.
Yeah, it's in a safe or something like that. They make it to where like they can't even get a hold of it, because imagine somebody comes and robs you, and you can give them everything in your safe and everything in your house and everything on your computer, but they still can't get your NFTs because they're not there. Sorry, right? And I think that's something definitely to consider. If you want to go even overboard, you can consider splitting up your seed phrase among multiple safe deposit boxes or among multiple trusted people. It's kind of hard to trust people because they might screw that up. If you do that, make sure you have overlap of people that don't know each other, because otherwise they could get together and take your seed phrase. Like, don't give it to your 3 best friends who all know each other, because they can get together and take your money. And if you have $10 million in your NFT account, they might be okay not being friends with you for $3.3 million each. So you need to make sure you're very, very smart with this. But if you do end up with a ton of like highly valuable NFTs that you know you're not selling anytime soon, you really don't even need access to them all that much. Now, I will say that's not necessarily true. For example, Cobie did a thing a while back where you got to mint a grifter for free if you had one of his one-of-ones. And I don't know how many people had his one-of-ones, but I bet a lot of them were in cold wallets. I know a lot of them are in cold wallets because nowhere near all of them were actually claimed. And obviously, if you have a one-of-one X copy, you probably are paying attention. You probably care. And just couldn't get a hold of it. Couldn't get it, right? CryptoPunks had this thing. It was called SIG tokens a while back, where they were like voting on the mayor of CryptoPunks. And it was worth like $1,000 per CryptoPunk you had. But you had to like confirm you had the CryptoPunk. So if you have 100 CryptoPunks in a cold wallet you can't access, that is $100,000 you don't get to access in exchange for being hyper secure.
I will say this is still such a big problem in the NFT space, where there is still a culture of proving what you have by connecting your wallet directly to some site. And that's actually exactly the way that people get hacked.
It is
by connecting their wallet. So it really sucks. And if someone can develop a solution for this in the next year, that would be amazing, where like maybe a third party verifies what you have, and then you connect to that third party and they assure that this person of this wallet owns this or whatever. Because it's so annoying that I still have to sometimes connect my ledger to a website to prove the ability to mint something. And that kind of defeats the purpose of having my NFTs in a ledger.
So funny enough, there is a person who is a Deck of Degeneracy holder, also a big fan of OSF. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to find this person's name this quickly, but they just made some sort of new program where you verify without actually having to connect to anything. You have to like enter your wallet, you have to go to your OpenSea account, you have to change the profile to something different. And if you can do those things, OpenSea requires you to connect to OpenSea, right? They're essentially the trusted party. And you go there and you basically sign a message by changing your profile. That is a way to do it. I'm not really able to find this exact second, but it's what we're using in Deck of Degeneracy's Discord now because I don't want people to have to connect to anything. And that goes in and can verify any token, whereas a lot of the other programs would verify if you have a item on a specific contract, but if you have an OpenSea contract item, which a lot of like art is, it couldn't verify this, but this can actually verify like any individual item, which is actually good for Deck of Degeneracy art collection because I want to know who owns random pieces of art as well.
Right. But
I can't find this person's name right now. I'm so sorry, but
no, it's okay.
It's a good program. I think it's like Wallity. I don't know. Look at Deck of Degeneracy. So that's the way we verify.
There's gonna be innovation in this area, I'm sure. Like you're talking about, Jonathan, because this is still a huge problem.
Yeah.
But in general, just be so vigilant. Like if you're connecting your ledger to something to prove that you own, like I just have to be so vigilant. And sometimes I'll actually just pass an opportunity. So I'll be like, you know what? It's honestly not worth it. Like I'd rather just keep my NFTs safe than have to worry that I might be connecting to a malicious site. On this idea of the safety deposit boxes, I actually went to a different city. I put in my seed phrase into like a sheet of metal that you can like etch your seed phrase into metal, and then I stored it in a safe deposit box in a different city, in a bank in a different city. So like no one can ever get it. They don't know where it is. And it sounds maybe a little bit paranoid, but I just wanted to make sure that like I'm protecting myself.
It's not a bad idea. As long as you know where it is, I'd forget. But not a bad idea at all. But yeah, be super vigilant. I can't make it any more clear. I don't want to see anybody get hacked or anybody get robbed. I've been robbed once on for Deck of Degeneracy. I gave away $500, I think, just $500 cash to somebody on Discord. Somebody, like a minute after I did the giveaway, somebody made a Discord account with the same person's name and profile picture and messaged me saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe I won." As you would do if you won. But it was somebody who like impersonated this random person who won this giveaway very quickly, and they got me for $500. I obviously paid the actual winner $500, but like
that's a good scam. Scam.
Like even that's like good because they got me for $500, and because it was like their name was whatever, Johnny B 9862 instead of not Johnny B 9863 or whatever, right? And there's a lot of ways for people to get you, and you got to protect yourself before you wreck yourself, right?
That's what these slides are about.
Yeah. All right. So now we have a JL spotlight and a Johnny B spotlight. Let's go through some things that I want to spotlight this week. I actually had one broad topic I wanted to spotlight, but we're going to end up spotlighting 4 active artists. I like the art. I love the art. I just want to highlight some things I've been buying recently, looking at buying recently, etc., etc. The first, are pieces by AlphaCentauriKid. This piece here is Mr. Shady, the first, I think it was the first, maybe the second, profile picture that he made. He currently has 5 or 6 or 7 of them. And I think it's kind of cool to have a profile picture made by AlphaCentauriKid, one of my absolute favorite artists. I don't think this profile picture actually represents me all that well, but it's pretty sweet. They may have utility. Funny enough, I made this slide a few days ago. He announced some utility that these will have. He is releasing a collection of 666 pianos in order to mint them. Well, you can go to LA to mint them by playing a song on a piano that will likely spit out a different NFT based on the song that you play. He said that it'll be fully equipped with, like some drinks and a torture room and all sorts of fun stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be very wild. And if you have one of these profile pictures, you get to go. You're guaranteed to have a spot there, which is a lot of fun. So when I say active artists, I mean artists who are like doing stuff. Like they're not someone who just makes a piece and then disappears, or makes a piece and just shills the hell out of it, and that's all they do. These are artists who are like engaging in the community, making amazing, unique, different work, and really like they're doing it is what it amounts to. They're doing the work. I, as someone who does the work, appreciate other people who do the work, and AlphaCentauriKid does the work. Next, we have CryptoPainter. I've been following CryptoPainter for a long time. This piece here is called The Square Auditor, which I think is quite funny. It's kind of tax season. I have to pay my taxes soon. He makes somewhat realistic pieces, usually featuring iconic NFTs and culturally relevant stuff. So you see this piece here. It has some chromey squiggles in it. It has some CryptoPunks, some moonbirds. If you look right here next to the computer, you'll see a deck of Degeneracy card. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
If you look on the very back right side, above the World of Women picture, that is actually my profile on OpenSea with a PopWonder banner with my 2 chromey squiggles there. I don't know why I decided to put that there. He asked if I had any chromey squiggles. I said yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I screenshotted my OpenSea. He's like, okay, I'll put that entire thing there. That looks cool. And
that
so
is so cool.
And everything, or most of these pieces in this piece, are owned by people who own his art. So he'll just like say, hey, does anybody have a chromey squiggle? I said, sure. Here's these 2 that I have. Pick whatever. And he put the silly profile in the back corner, right? And I think it's amazing. And he has a lot of work. He has a piece in the Degeneracy art collection. It's amazing. It's who is it? I think it's Amoeba.
I love that one.
Yeah,
I love that one.
Anyway, he does really great work. It's a lot of fun. He recently founded a studio called Art in Motion. He used to be a very high up art director for Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, I think. Make sure you check this all out. Everything I say, by the way, I presume I only halfway know what I'm saying. And he's made.
We should always lead with that disclaimer, John.
Yeah, I only halfway know what I'm talking about. He's made art for like every good TV show, like The Mandalorian. He made a bunch of art for recently, and this guy's legit. And so he is working on a new fighting game featuring a lot of NFT characters. And he was missing a doodle. None of us had a doodle. None of his collectors had a doodle. So I was randomly talking to him. He said, hey, if you get a doodle by tomorrow, I'll put him in the fighting game. So I got a doodle. Now my doodle's going to be in the fighting game. So that's fun. And anyway, I love CryptoPainter's work. It's amazing. Next, we have PopWonder. This is Cleansing Flame by PopWonder. PopWonder's always creating stuff. He has the same theme a lot of the time. Well, same style, but I don't know. It always just, it hits you. It hits you nicely. Very active on social media, creating amazing art. Had a piece that came out today. I have not had much time to look at it, but I'm sure it's going to sell for a ton of ETH. And that's a lot of fun. Also, he does things where he will just like release a new piece on OpenSea with no notice at all. Just if you happen to go to his profile, you can get it. He released one called Rocket Man the other day. And I think there were like 20 editions of it. And, it sold out in about half a second if you knew it was going to be there. Or if you knew to search, or if you got the alpha from somebody. And it's also kind of neat. Finally, we have Rare Skrilla. Rare Skrilla has been making rare Pepes since 2016. We talked about rare Pepes in our first episode of this podcast. Still works with rare Pepes today. He is involved with helping build the website, getting support for things like Ledger, for example. Rare Pepes cannot work with Ledger for a long time, but it will be soon. And like, I like the idea that there are these artists out here who've been working hard to better the community for many years, and they're going to continue doing it. So anyway, I like highlighting artists who are doing the work. I like buying stuff from artists who are doing the work, or even community creators who make projects that it's clear they're doing the work. And I think they're fun. All right, what do you want to spotlight today?
Those are some great spotlights, JL. So as you guys know, JL is the expert on the art. I'm more of like a swing trader when it comes to NFTs. What I'm looking for is hype cycles, and usually when something's off its hype cycle, what I look for is like these durable projects where, it has some kind of lasting appeal. If it was just a straight up pump and dump, and the all-time high used to be 5 ETH, and now it's 0.5 ETH, that might never come back. If it was just like a straight up, frenzy pump and dump thing.
Or if it's just a profile picture project with nothing else going on and no guaranteed promises, right?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm referring to as a pump and dump.
Yeah.
Something where there's no lasting utility, no lasting appeal. It's not really unique. So what I try to do is find something that has its own kind of value proposition, lasting value proposition. And then I just try to purchase off of the hype cycle. So when I notice that there's like a lot of hype for something, I'll usually just buy something else. Maybe I'll actually sell into that pump for a little bit of extra liquidity. Now, keep in mind, I'm not the best trader in the world. I'm better at buying things than I am at selling them, which is why I have so many NFTs. But what I can tell right now is like super off of its hype cycle, and might be an interesting thing to kind of put back on everyone's radar right now is VeeFriends. And it's like the whole VeeFriends ecosystem is so depressed right now in terms of its price. And there's a ton of utility to these projects. Say what you want about Gary Vee's art. I like the art of Jonathan's projects a lot more. I'll just say that. But what's undeniable about Gary is that he's just like the king of utility. He really believes in like giving back to the holders. He thinks of it as like building a family of people that he's like going to ride with the rest of his career. And these prices are so depressed compared to where they've been before. So I just think it's like cool to put this on people's attention. These are projects I've been looking at. Specifically, I've been putting in some bids here and there because there's not a whole lot of demand. By the way, that's a great strategy. When you notice there isn't a lot of hype for a project that you've always wanted to buy, put in some stink bids. Put them in 1 ETH below floor. See if someone accepts. So VeeFriends Series 1, this is your perpetual ticket to the Gary Vee utility ecosystem, right? And the all-time high for these Series 1s was about 20 ETH within the last year. Right now, the floor is at 5.7. That's really, really low. I've actually never seen it that low before. So like, we're probably catching this at like the Pico bottom right now. Book games.
Don't tell me that. I'm going to go buy a bunch of these as soon as we're done. All right,
well, I'm just saying.
Good game.
Yeah, right?
So one thing I want to say right here. Let's pause for Series 1. Series 1 came out about a year and change ago, and it did not mint out immediately. And I believe the price was 1.5 ETH for the basic ones. And then Gary Vee was going to have a conference in Minneapolis. I went with Johnny. It was a lot of fun. And if you had any of the Series 1s, you got to go for free. They gave you this ticket, actually, we're going to talk about that in just a second, the VCon 2022 tickets. So you got a ticket, you got to go to this conference. It was a great time. It was like an A+ time, really. And I'll be going again next year. And he's guaranteed you'll get to go to that conference last year, this upcoming year, and the next year. So I already kind of had it in my mind that these things are definitively going to drop in value after this conference. Probably for like 6, 7, 8 months. I think we're probably, when was the conference? 4 or 5 months ago? So yeah. We're getting about that time. I don't know if we're like fully depressed, but we're probably getting about that time because next year's conference is going to start getting on people's minds, and I'm sure they're going to do a better job next year than they did this year, and it was already a very good time this last year. So I definitely think that these are probably getting near bottom, assuming people still care. I mean, it's hard to make people care about anything, but if there's a project people seem to really resonate with, some people just resonate with Gary Vee because he's like a hype man to some extent. People love the hype. Some people love the hype. Some people hate the hype, but some people love the hype, and it doesn't really matter what the haters think. It matters if people are actually into it and buying it. And I think that this is a good pick. All right, let's talk about book games.
I was just gonna say, as long as Gary Vee can stay healthy, right, and stay like motivated, which he's like the most motivated business person I've ever met. And assuming that NFTs don't just straight go to zero, which could happen, right? Like all of crypto could go to zero probably, but I'm not serious. But assuming those things will happen, this is probably sharp, but again, not financial advice.
Pause one more second.
Yeah.
I like that these are essentially utility tokens at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you imagine, worst case, you get to go to this conference for 2 more years, and best case, you get to go to this conference for forever, or maybe you get something else from this somewhere down the road, somehow, some way. You're buying a membership, essentially. So I think a lot of people look at this art and think this art is garbage, or if it means whatever, some people like it, whatever. A lot of people don't like it. But they're viewing this as a piece of art instead of a membership. Kind of like Deck of Degeneracy is art, but it's also very clearly a membership. And as long as you know what you're buying, like you want to be in this club, essentially, that gets you these things, if you value the things that are being given, then it's an excellent deal. If you don't value the things that are being given, maybe not so much. Like if you don't want to go to the conference and you don't like Gary Vee at all, it's probably not for you. But it's essentially a membership is what it amounts to. All right, next, let's talk about book games.
So book games, the tagline for book games is "Book games are forever." That's literally Gary Vee's tagline for this project, and he means it. Like he's Gary Vee has a history of delivering on projects and following through. So when he says something like book games are forever, I tend to believe him. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but what it means is that this is access to a different type of token where he's going to be running contests and giveaways for the holders of these NFTs for forever. So there have already been giveaways that were, you could only access through book games. And right now the price is, again, super depressed. The all-time high was about 0.5 ETH right before the conference. Right now it's sitting at less than 0.1. Just seems like probably not a bad play, right? So I might snag a few of these.
One second. I got to talk about all these because I know about this ecosystem a lot. I think book games are going to always struggle because they're on Immutable X. Are they on Immutable X or something different?
They are.
Okay. Immutable X is essentially a side chain of Ethereum, right? That goes a lot quicker. It's way cheaper, but now the idea of cheapness doesn't really matter so much. So I think that's actually really bad for book games looking forward, because I get the idea that for like gaming NFTs where you're like trading stuff back and forth and back and forth and back and forth all the time, that it makes sense to have like 1 cent transfers, but I don't think people want 1 cent transfers for a 0.1 ETH item. So and it's hard to get into that ecosystem. You have to take your ETH and transfer it to what is it, Matic or something? Is it Matic? Something.
Immutable X.
Immutable X tokens. I don't even know.
Yeah.
They got Matic tokens. They got this Immutable X tokens that it's a pain. And that's a problem. It's a real barrier to entry.
And I agree. I mean, I agree with those points, and that's why the price is so depressed. And
Notice
that's why
they
the
are
all-time
off.
high.
They're down 80%, whereas these other pieces are not down 80%.
But I still think that they might be a smart play in terms of, like, he runs contests where if you own 20 of these, you're going to get this other NFT. And as long as he keeps running contests like that and giveaways like that, there's an inherent utility in owning these.
Yeah, well, he did this other
inevitably,
thing. Go ahead.
He'll tweet. He'll be like something about like lava is the GOAT or something, right? And all of a sudden, all the lava tokens pump. So it does seem like right now you probably can't go wrong with these projects too much. Obviously, not financial advice. But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that initially with the giveaways, they were like burn or send to us 100 of these things, and we'll send you a Bored Ape that's worth 100 ETH or something like that. Maybe the 100's not the right number. Maybe it's like 1,000. It was some silly number. And somebody did it very quickly. And there were a bunch of giveaways for like a baseball card signed by somebody, or like a bunch of just stuff, valuable stuff. And if they continue doing stuff like that, and these book games get really depressed, and there's a giant barrier to entry you have to figure out to actually get on it, these actually could be like the steal of the century down the road. I mean, imagine even if they just give out VCon 2023 tickets, and those are worth 0.5 ETH or something like that, and you can just get 100 of them. I mean, that's good money, right? Especially if you can trade, let's say, 3 of these for 0.3 ETH, for an item worth 0.5 ETH, you profit 0.2 ETH out the door for each item. And if you can do that a ton, it's probably a good deal. Oh my God, I got so many things to do now.
It's basically just, do you trust that Gary Vee is going to keep adding value to this ecosystem specifically for book games? I say yes, because he wouldn't say something like book games are forever unless he meant it. That's in my opinion. So anyway, I think that one, yeah.
I'm not done yet. And some of the stuff he could give will cost him close to nothing, but will still be valuable. It's kind of like when a casino gives comps to players. Like, they can give you a free room all day long because it costs them like $20, but you would have paid $300 for the room. So they give away 20, you feel like you're getting 300. Here, he gives you a ticket to the next year's conference, probably cost him $50 or $100, yet for you, it's worth $800, right? And so that's just like a really, really easy value add that he can do and burn up these book games, make them forever, worst case. Like, that's a really good fail case, and that's still quite valuable.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm buying all the book games today. All right, go ahead. That floor is going to be up.
Quick. I need to snap these up quick. All right, before Jonathan learns how to connect to Immutable X. So then VCon 2022 tickets. So the all-time high for these was actually way higher than 0.7, but that was before the conference. And before the conference, there was a ton of hype. But Jonathan and I were at the conference when Gary Vee announced that there's going to be a Snoop Dogg collab NFT available to everyone that is still holding their VCon ticket in like August or September of this year, which is right around the corner. And right after we heard that, they pumped to 0.7 ETH, even though the ticket was worthless. People had already used the ticket for the event. It's technically now a worthless NFT. It pumped to 0.7, and Jonathan and I had a conversation. We're like, let's buy all of these up when they drop, because right now they're all hyped up. So right now the floor is at 0.24. Come on, like this is probably a good buy right here.
I mean, this is I don't know. I'm not so sure because I'm not so sure. 0.24 may still be a lot depending on what this Snoop Dogg thing is. Because imagine this is just a free mint pass to a thing that's minting for 0.1. Well, then
that's true.
It should be worth like 0.12 or something, right?
So it's to be seen, but maybe like it's a good time to put in some bids, right? Put in a collection offer for 0.2 and see what happens.
You keep saying put in collection offer. So on OpenSea and all the other sites, there's a way to bid on any item in the collection. And as long as you don't care about the art or the animal on the VCon, on the Series 1, whatever, you don't care which one you're getting because for you, they're all effectively the same, right? And for some NFTs, you care which one you get. Before these, they're all effectively membership passes or mint passes or whatever they are, and you don't care which one you get. So putting in a lowball floor offer that's like a penny higher than the current highest offer it's kind of free to do to some extent.
Yep. And then finally we have Series 2, which you actually got Series 2s for owning book games, I believe. No, for owning Series 1.
For owning Series 1, you got a Series 2 for free, I think. And
book games.
Book games gave you the ability to trade some book games for Series 2s.
No, but also there was a raffle where about 1/4 of all book games tokens gave you a Series 2 token. So I had about 20 book games and I got 4 Series 2s for free.
And I had
an example.
I had one Series 1 and I got the Series 2 for free.
Nice. And then I had one Series 1 and I also got that one. So I had 5 Series 2s total. And these are still worth 0.35. I'm not exactly sure why, because Gary has not guaranteed utility for these. That's why I just put unknown, it's a gamble. I really don't know what his plan is for Series 2. You literally just have to trust that he's going to do something with this in the future. That being said, of all of these, this would be my lowest conviction play. But it's still, it's 50% off of its all-time high. And it's an example of the type of utility that he gives to other projects, right? So, I got a bunch of these for free just for owning book games. So anyway, I just think that this is a cool thing to spotlight. Again, this art is not really comparable to the art that Jonathan highlighted, but it might be a really interesting way to diversify your portfolio. And if you're ever thinking of getting into the Gary Vee ecosystem, VeeFriends ecosystem, now is a good time because we're really talking about the all-time lows for a lot of these tokens.
Yeah, I mean, like in my mind, this is just straight up a membership pass to some extent. Yeah. Now, so you say that it's unknown about Series 2, but there actually has been some utility given to some Series 2 pieces so far. Like, there's some badminton one. I don't know what it is. I'm not paying that much attention because I don't have it. But if you had this badminton, when Gary bought a bunch of seats, like good seats, like the badminton championships or something, and if you had this NFT, you could just go to him.
Oops.
You could go with him to the badminton game. Not that I care about going with him to the badminton game.
I might have missed that because I'm not tracking the Discord.
Well, there you go. I mean, so I will say with all of these projects, you kind of have to pay attention to what's going on. A lot of the projects will at everyone on Discord whenever they have something relevant. So, like every day, I probably read 100 at everyone announcements, which is not a lot. A lot of them I just skim through very quickly, like, oh, a badminton thing for Gary V Series 2. I don't care, but I'm glad it's happening, right? Because they might hit whichever one I have in the future. The problem is, like, I don't think a lot of people care about going to the badminton world championships or whatever it is. So you may get utility.
I would go with Gary V.
Yeah, there you go. You may get utility you don't really care about. In terms of my highest conviction play here, I think book games are like pretty free at this price because he's already proven you can trade these things for real things. And I think they'll run it back and do that again. And I know worst case they'll do it for VCon 2023 and 2024 tickets. And I bet if you are willing to do a little bit of legwork and do some trading or whatever hoops they make you jump through, it's probably going to be a pretty good hourly rate doing that. Also, I think Series 1 are pretty cheap too. I mean, that just seems pretty cheap.
Yeah,
I don't feel so good about the Series 2 because, like you say, really unknown. I don't really feel great about the Series 2022 tickets because it could just be a 0.1 mint pass. But I love the book games, and I love the fact that everybody else isn't going to be able to figure it out, which pays you for having a big brain.
I'm sweeping the floor tonight.
Yeah, well, I probably won't be able to figure it out. All right, cool. So that is it for today. I want to thank all of you for being here with us. Johnny, have anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just want to say for anyone that has made it through to the end of this episode, thanks so much for joining us for this conversation. And I would love to hear if you're one of those, listeners that has now watched all of episode 1 and all of episode 2. What did you like about episode 2? What did you not like? We're changing, we're iterating on the format a little bit, and we'd love to get some feedback from you. What do you want to hear us talk about? Do you want us to spend less time on something, more time on something else? Any kind of constructive feedback would be really helpful for us because we're really just like, throwing different ideas around, and we'd love to hear from the listeners.
One thing I learned is that if you say that the show is for children on YouTube, they don't have comments. I know that I keep things family friendly, so I presume that's for children, but it's not for children. This is for adults because I want you all to give me comments. So there was no comments available on the first episode.
No way.
I did not understand that this is not a show for children. Although in this episode we started off talking about dick butts right off the bat, so clearly it's not for children.
Clearly not for kids.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it for kids? Sure. We're not overly aggressive. But anyway, yeah, I would love feedback. Look, I mean, feedback is how you get good at something. I have a popular poker YouTube channel, but this is very different. It's a very different space. We're also doing a different format of a show. It's easy enough for me to do this. I think it's easy enough for Johnny to do this. I think we can do this indefinitely. And I just want to make sure you all like it. If this show is popular, we'll do it. If nobody cares, we won't do it. Simple as that. So, leave us some comments. Click the like and subscribe button if you like it. Please tell your friends. That would be very beneficial. Get their feedback. That would be great. And we'll have the most popular show about NFTs in about, 3 months? We'll be the bosses.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you all for being here. Hope you run hot on your NFT ventures. In worst case, you'll have some nice JPEGs.
Later, everyone.